I think that authenticity can sometimes be an excuse for not growing and not changing. I think most people, when they talk about authenticity, they're talking about their values. How do you keep your values intact while continuing to grow and rediscover and reimagine yourself?
Hey, BA fam, I am so happy to introduce you to my guest today, Sabina Nawaz. She is an executive coach, has worked at some incredible companies like Microsoft, like Google. Not that brand names matter, okay? But it's nice. It's nice to know that someone's come from some elite institutions. But Sabina has written a book, and you know what? My 5-year-old son loves this book. I've had it around the house while I've been reading it, and he's like, "You're the boss." Like he's just learning how to read. These are some sight words for him. I was like, yeah, baby, you know how to say the word boss. But the book is You're the Boss, Become the Manager You Want to Be and Others Need. Sabina, welcome to Brown Ambition.
Well, thank you so much, Mandy. And I cannot help but notice, since you mentioned visuals, you're in red, I'm in yellow. And
are we
the
not
cover.
A little ketchup and mustard moment? This is like a match made in heaven. We really are.
Who knew?
There's a reason that those colors are so ingrained, in the culture. So yeah, beautiful. So talk to me about your path from corporate, because I actually have a similar path. I left corporate in 2021 and I became a career coach. I don't know when you left corporate, but I have loved though that transition was unexpected, but also really fun for me. But I'm curious, what was your path like? Did you always know you wanted to step away from that traditional like corporate role and then help executives be better at their jobs?
Oh gosh, no. My undergraduate and graduate degrees are in computer science and electronics and computer systems engineering, and I started my career at Microsoft in software engineering.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so I did that, and I managed teams and worked on products like Windows and MSN and Internet Explorer and a bunch of version 0 products that never went anywhere for over 9 years, and then switched careers into HR at Microsoft, where I ran the company's executive development, worked with Bill and Steve, running succession planning for the company, management development for the 11,000 managers we had, and so on. So it was a whole different career shift. I did that for about 6 years. And for the past 20 years, I've been on my own, coaching CEOs, doing leadership training, large keynotes, writing for Harvard Business Review, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, and then, of course, most recently, writing the book.
Gosh, it took you that long to write a book? Is this your first one?
Yes.
Well, you've been too busy doing the work, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's incredible. Okay, so you're my goals then, to have a couple of decades under your belt of making it on your own. All right. So talk to me about the book. I mean, this book is very much, I feel like, targeting maybe not CEOs. I mean, maybe CEOs, but also just like women of color, especially who want to be CEOs and want to like be going up that ladder, and how to do it in a way that they're successful. But also what I've taken away is like, you're not sacrificing who you are or giving up who your authentic self is along the way.
Yes. The book has a few key things as ways to remember. This book is targeted, Mandy, to people who are already successful, the people who have made it, who have a long track record of being right and getting promoted on that. And yet there are things that none of us knows at every stage of our career. So the 3 things to be aware of: 1, that promotions are the riskiest time in your career. 2, that it is not power, but pressure that corrupts you. And 3, that pressure then isolates you from the impact of those behaviors that you are showing up with under pressure, because nobody will tell you until it's too late. As women and women of color, you're likely to receive even less feedback when things like this happen, and they have the power then to derail your career.
Maybe I'm reading it through my own lens, but I'm wondering if like a better way to describe the book is also maybe how to like prevent some of the common pitfalls that can happen when you are succeeding. And then I want to hear, what have you seen happen? You say promotions are the most vulnerable or the riskiest parts of your career, what have you seen happen to high achieving women in their careers when they do get that successful stage and then they are, given that opportunity, and what happens next?
Yeah. So the tricky part with promotions is that, of course, it's a time for great celebration as well. And once the bubblies settle, the very strengths that have gotten you to the level at which you're promoted are going to be seen very differently from the next that are craning up. They're going to be seen less charitably. For example, you're a woman who pays a lot of attention to detail. Suddenly, you're going to be seen as a micromanager. Let's say that you're someone who's very calm under pressure. Now you're at risk being seen as lacking passion, detached, aloof, not interested. On the other hand, let's say you're super passionate. Now you're going to be seen as overly emotional, which we often get feedback on anyhow. So you haven't changed, but your position has changed. And with that positional change, people are going to view your strengths from a very different lens. This was the case for one of my clients who was incredibly strategic. She owned meetings, not because she went in there with guns blazing, but because she watched the landscape, she understood what people were looking for, and then spoke up and tailored her messages appropriately so people wanted to follow her. And when she got this big promotion, people suddenly started thinking of her as manipulative instead of strategic. Oh, she's watching which way the winds are blowing, what the senior person is saying. She doesn't make a decision until she's got it all settled in. She was shocked when she got that feedback. When I interviewed people on her team about how they perceive working with her, and they were talking about how they were not trusting her as much because they thought she was manipulative, that was really shocking to her. Because, of course, up to this point, she had been promoted for that very reason. So then we had to work on how do you reduce what I call the power gap, the distance between you and those who report to you, so they better understand what you're doing and what your intentions are.
Yeah, that really resonates with me because I guess I was a younger manager. I was a senior director. I was managing a team of 30 staff and like 100 contractors. And I was unusual in that I came to that point through an acquisition. I was at a startup where I was like, I think I managed 2 full-time staff and then a bunch of freelancers, and then brought into this bigger company, given the gift and the privilege to build a team from the ground up. And in my mind, I sort of saw myself as like, I have an opportunity. I'm a woman of color in this position of power. I can dictate who gets hired. I'm going to do it the way that I would love to see it done, which did involve I was very enthusiastic about everything, and people saw that as pushy and saw it as just calm down, like we're going to get this done. And I was like, also I have like New Yorker energy, even though I'm from the South. And my parent company was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And they were a bit like, what? Like, let's do small talk first. And I'm like, no, I need this, da, 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 da. And yeah, I mean, it was frustrating. Also, it's really hard to feel misunderstood. And I also felt like there's a lot of like discourse now about how we shouldn't have to change the way we are. We shouldn't have to care what people think. We should be able to say things the way that we want them and get stuff done. But in effect, it doesn't always work best as a leader, as a team, because it kind of does matter how people feel about you.
Completely.
Am I wrong?
I mean, business is personal. It starts there. If you could be in a room by yourself and get stuff done and have pizza slid under the door at meal times, then sure, don't worry about anything else. And this leads to the point about authenticity. For me, authenticity is not singular. It does not exist in singular form. I mean, if you think about it, are you exactly the same way with your 5-year-old son as you are in this podcast, as you are with your besties when you go out for an evening, as you are with your partner, as you are if you were speaking on a big stage? They're all you. They're all authentically you, but they're different expressions of you. And if we were truly wedded to a singular, rigid definition of authenticity, then it's not just your son. You would be like your 5-year-old son, and maybe you'd be throwing a temper tantrum on the floor anytime you didn't get your way.
Oh, my children never, ever
of course
have
not.
tantrums. That's
yes.
bad parenting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, there you go. But
yeah,
I think that authenticity can sometimes be an excuse for not growing and not changing. And so it's about how do you keep growing while staying? I think most people, when they talk about authenticity, they're talking about their values. How do you keep your values intact while continue to grow and rediscover and reimagine yourself?
That's such a good point. One of the best things I did at that point, because I was so frustrated and I was really feeling challenged, and
Yeah.
I asked for a professional development fund to do, I think I did it was a week-long leadership and development training, and my company, paid for it. And it was the first time in my career that because I was at a startup, right? There wasn't budgets for management training and things like that, and then I'm being thrust into like a much bigger institution, and it was great to have that time just to devote to understanding how I authentically, like in my core self, approach things, and then how I can approach them as a leader, and how those can still be authentic, but I need to have a different style as a leader.
Absolutely.
And it really humbled me, and it opened me up to the idea that I still had lots to learn and that I needed to be more coachable. I was resistant to that feedback because, just like you said, I thought that being changed meant that I was wrong and I wasn't good at my job.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, and good for you that you then went into that learner mode and opened yourself up for that. It goes to a point I talk about in the book, which is around the tool called multiple meanings, that it's never one story. There are multiple ways to look at the story. So in your case, one way to look at it is, this means I'm a failure, or this means I'm wrong, they're right, or I'm
I thought
right,
I was going to get fired every day.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you know what? If we dream big, if we play big, of course we might get fired, or we might feel that way. That's a sign that you're doing something right.
Feeling like you're going to get fired is a sign that you're doing something right. Man, I was doing something right for a lot of it really, like, so much of it is about mindset. And looking back, I mean, I thought I was so mature and like so advanced, but now looking back, I'm like, oh girl, just relax. Like, just give yourself some grace. You made a mistake, Yeah. I'm curious. So you mentioned the multiple meetings. What I wanted to talk about was the idea of pressure, because you said that power doesn't corrupt, pressure does. What are you trying to tackle there, like in terms of that idea that when you get more powerful, you're going to be corrupted? And then, like, how does pressure play a role?
Yeah, it's not power that corrupts you. You're not getting corrupted when you get more power. You're getting corrupted when you're under more pressure. And think about this. Just about everybody I know says they're under tremendous amounts of pressure with everything that's going on in the world, in the country, in your organization, in your life, in your job. There's a lot of pressure. Have you ever done something when you're under pressure that you're not proud of in hindsight? Just about everybody. We flip our finger in traffic when we haven't budgeted enough time and we're running late and somebody cuts us off. We raise our voice maybe louder than we should have sometimes when we are losing patience. We provide feedback in ways that may not be as kind and compassionate to other people. I know for me, when I came back from parental leave after my first kid, and the first day after leave, I'm putting on lipstick for the first time, my assistant calls me, "Where are you? Steve expects you in 30 minutes. That's Steve Ballmer, the CEO of the company. And she reads me the memo as I'm hitting warp speed, getting to work. And that set the tone for the pressure that I had at work with an infant at home. No sleep, no peace, no patience. I'm thinking to myself, I don't have time to give detailed instructions to people, let alone repeat them. There'll be time for empathy later on. They're big boys and girls. Let's go. Let's work. Let's get this done. Like you, let's just go and execute. I started micromanaging because I was worried myself or my team would look incompetent to senior executives. And the scary part is I thought, like you were saying, Mandy, that I was doing a great job. I was being efficient. When in reality, my colleague Joe comes to me one day and says, Zach is crying in his office because of something you said, how you said it. And that's when I realized, when I went to talk to Zach and apologize, and his eyes brimmed with tears, I realized, this is what I want. How did I morph from being caring and compassionate, from people thinking I'm one of the best bosses they worked for, to this, someone that people were afraid of and really didn't like very much. So it's the same person, different circumstances. Under pressure, even the best bosses can morph into the worst bosses.
Yeah. So in that case, I mean, you're getting pressure from the top. And I wonder if also because you're coming back from parental leave, you're not also like trying to prove yourself a little bit, like not that you've lost anything since you've gone off. Cause I do think that there's that fear, I think, as women that we come back and will be underestimated.
Yeah.
But how do you get better about that when it's coming from up top? Like, did you talk to Steve, the CEO, about the tone that he was setting? I mean, that's dicey.
Yeah, no, I wasn't really, I don't think it was pressure from the top. It was pressure from the top just as part of the job. There was nothing in how Steve was asking me to do things that needed to be changed. What needed to change was how I managed the pressure. Look, the pressure is not going to go away. If you want to dream big, you want to play big, you're going to be in a pressure cooker. It's not possible to be pressure free. What you're after is trying to be pressure proof.
Ooh, I love that.
Right?
I love
pressure,
a catchphrase, but
there you go.
It's
but
not possible to be pressure free. Is
Yeah.
such a great, like, I just want to stop there for a moment because I was just I did an interview with a financial therapist, but right before this, and she was saying how as humans, we really don't like being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And we think something is wrong if we're uncomfortable, and like we want to fix it and soothe it. And like, it just sounds like what you're describing, you know, when you are in a big position. Yeah, it's like accepting that there's going to be a very high pressure environment, and it's our job to like learn how to cope with it in a healthy way so that we can be better leaders.
That's exactly it. Exactly it. And so how do you do that? One of the things to do when pressure rises is to do nothing. What I mean by that, most of us, when pressure rises, want to work harder. We want to buckle down, work late, sacrifice dinner, sacrifice family time, sacrifice self-care, and keep going, doing. Instead, what I ask my clients to do is a practice called blank space, which is taking 2 hours a week where they step back, unplug from everything. No conversation, no reading, certainly not online, because research shows that some of our best thoughts come where? In the shower, on our commutes, when we're working out. That is when we switch the active part of our brain. And when you do that and you're in blank space, you suddenly realize that all these smaller things that you're getting stressed out about, that you're generating your own pressure on, don't matter. It reconnects you to that North Star, what you need to push towards. It refreshes your brain. It gives you a rest and gives you bigger ideas that you need to go chase. Helps you be more strategic.
So what does that look like in effect? Like go outside, touch grass, go take a walk.
Go outside. Yeah. So different people have different ways of doing it. Go outside, touch grass is great if you want to do it. One person lay in their hammock for 2 hours. Another person wanted to discover all the pie shops in the city that he lived in. So he would go order 2 pies in his 2 hours and sit there. Someone else had a hotel that overlooked a mountain range. He would go order brunch there every Thursday morning. So it really looks different for different people. Someone else was at a coffee shop with a box of crayons and she would just draw and see.
Oh, that's me. I love a doodle.
There you go.
A magic marker. You know, I have a thing against those adult coloring books that are like so tiny and intricate. Yeah. I'm like, yes. This is frustrating me too because I feel like I have to finish the whole page. Get you like get you a Crayola magic marker set and like one of those chunky picture like coloring books from the drugstore, and that's a very soothing activity. Just color a picture of this sun. It's like a meditation, honestly. It sounds like
it's a workplace meditation. Absolutely.
It's like and I think the word meditation can be intimidating, but it's like, in effect, it's really just like being present and quiet.
You bet.
And that is so antithetical to like what we think we need to do to be successful and to be the boss. Exactly. I'm the boss. Exactly. I should be doing.
Right. Yeah, and we forget that we're human beings, not human doings.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So talk to me about what are some of the biggest mistakes you can make when you're at like a senior executive level, you're working your way up and the stakes are getting higher. So we've talked about needing to have more time and to cope with the pressure. What are some mistakes you see happen time and time again?
Yeah. So, Mandy, as I wrote this book, it's based on 12,000 pages of data. The data I collected was through interviews, over 1,000 interviews of people who worked for my clients. What's it like to really work for this person, this CEO?
Mm.
And the number one piece of negative feedback was this person has a hard impact on others. And this is where I arrived at that it's not power, but pressure that corrupts. So we get rude, we get crude, we don't pay attention. We've talked about that. The number two is around communication and various aspects of communication. The biggest mistake executives make in communication is they talk too much. The antidote to that is what I call exercise your shut up muscle. And there are 4 steps to that, but one of the steps, which is you can do immediately and quickly, though not easily, is to not be the first or second person to speak. Be the third person, be the fifth person. Because once someone in a position of power speaks, everybody else gets busy laughing at it as in, oh, wow, that's so funny, praising it, oh, wow, that's so clever. Nobody's going to disagree with it. And you lose access to diversity of thought. You lose access to creativity. You lose the opportunity to grow the people on your team and in your organization. So shut up. Yes, you're right. Yes, you know a lot. But do you want to continue to build this fan club and a sense of everyone reassuring you how great you are? Or do you want to grow the entire organization? And oh, by the way, when you grow the entire organization, more people can step up and do some things that are on your plate and reduce pressure on you.
Yeah. There's this like sense of when you get to, I mean, I'm just thinking about me as a manager and how once I was managing such a big team, I was afraid. I mean, I intellectually, I knew the word delegate and, you know, but I was afraid if I wasn't seen to be having my hands on a lot of things that they would think I wasn't doing a great job. I think there was maybe even a breakdown in communication between my higher ups, like my executives, in like being clear about what the expectation was from me and like what they were expecting, because I let myself get into such a place of burnout and so much stress. I mean, and so much fear around, am I going to be fired? Blah, blah, blah. And after like months and months and months of this, I walk into my boss's office and I'm ready to quit. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. This is too much. I'm just like so stressed all the time that you want this, you want that. And he just is very calm. And he's like, what do you need? It's like, it just sounds like, yeah, there's a lot of things on your plate. What do you need to get it done? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you're not even using your full budget for this. I'm like, well, I thought if I used the full budget, I thought that would be like bad because it would look like I wasn't being budget conscious. And he's like, well, you're supposed to use the budget to get these goals done.
There's a reason they exist.
Yeah, it was a very like meaningful moment for me in terms of understanding. Yeah, it was meaningful to me in a couple of ways, but one, it was like I'm in control of figuring out, like I'm in this position and they're expecting me to just figure out how to make it happen. They're not telling me how to do it and it's up to me. I've created this way of doing it that is detrimental to me and the whole team. And if I want to do my job well, then I need to come up with a better plan, recognize that this isn't working and come up with a different plan, and then actually know how to like ask for additional resources and not be afraid of being seen as weak or unable to do my job because I needed the extra, help, resources, etc.
Yep. Talk about multiple meanings and reframing that from a sign of weakness to actually a sign of being strategic, a sign of strength. I'm so confident that I can ask for things and say that I cannot do this single-handedly.
Yeah. I wonder too, what is the gender makeup of your clients? Are you mostly working with women? Is it a mix of men and women?
It's a mix.
A mix. Do you find any difference in how women, like what we're struggling with in leadership roles versus men? Anything that's telling about our challenges versus theirs?
Well, first of all, I was very surprised when I deeply analyzed these 12,000 pages of data. I did not see gender differences in how they fall prey to the pressure pitfalls and the power gaps. It was equally divided amongst men and women. What I do find common on a gendered basis is around strategic thinking. That women often tend to get feedback that they're not strategic, but they're actually quite strategic. They're busy caretaking and doing the less strategic work. And so it's more that they haven't given themselves time. They haven't carved out the space and time to do the strategic work. And when we work on that, and I say, let's create some blank space where you can really think the strategic thoughts, they're often afraid that if I now carve out the time, I'll actually discover I truly am not strategic. So by not carving out the time, it's like a muscle. That muscle hasn't grown. And so they assume that they don't have it, versus it's an underdeveloped muscle. And you, just like anything else, you got to go to the gym of strategic thinking. So that's one where I think that a lot of women get feedback that they're not strategic, but when they do take the time to do it, they have created transformational business results.
What even is that word strategic? Like, it's so, I mean, I've just used it. Like, what does that mean? Like, you're not strategic enough. You're not analyzing results and making business decisions that are different to improve those results. Like, is that what it is?
Yes. And you're not stepping back enough. You're too much in the fray. You're too much in the weeds. You're not stepping back enough and anticipating what's going to happen down the road. So as a result, there's a longer string of fire drills, or we've missed opportunities in the market or with our competitors or for our customers because you didn't step back and think through the bigger picture and the consequences, not even in the long term, but in the medium term.
So if for your clients who are struggling with that, when you're in that blank space, then what do you do to like zoom out? Sometimes for me, if I'm trying to zoom out, you know, for the podcast, for example, if I want to like take some time to strategically look at what's the next year going to look like for Brown Ambition, which I just did the year editorial calendar, I can't just be quiet. Like I need to also, in my mind, like look at what other competitors are doing and look at what's going to be coming up on the, you know, let's say it's a year of the Olympics. It's not, but you know, or whatever, or an election is coming up that may dictate how I'm going to play in the calendar. So I need to have like other voices in the mix. Do you think that that's helpful for executives in that position to like go to a thought leadership conference or get it, you know, read certain trade publications, listen to other, you know, other thinkers in the space to inform that strategy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Keeping your radar open to what else is going on so you're not creating something in a bubble and not getting stuck in whatever you come up with, because especially these days, things are changing overnight. So you also have to be flexible. But to be flexible, you've got to be well read and up to date on what else is going on. Otherwise, it's going to come bite you unexpectedly. So absolutely, that would be part of the process in that blank space. The other thing that somebody did very successfully, she would keep a running list all week long. So let's say her blank space was on Thursdays. So Friday through Thursday, she would just keep a running list with a bunch of sticky notes of, oh, this idea, oh, that thing, oh, what about this thing that I read? And in her blank space, she'd bring all these random, seemingly random thoughts and sticky notes to her blank space date. Something magical started to happen. It wasn't about any one of those individual sticky notes. When she looked at them together, she went, oh my gosh, we're missing this huge opportunity in this market. So it allowed her to, instead of just playing whack-a-mole with every new idea that pops up, it allowed her to step back and say, what's the interconnection between these things?
I have a wild ideas Trello board, like a little,
yes.
I just literally, because I can get distracted. And I love my ideas. As a mom, like I have 2 young kids, and like as a mom, sometimes all I want is just to be with my own thoughts. I really think that my brain is a magical place, and I'm like, I can come up, I'm such a creative person. I have so many great ideas if I can just have my brain to myself. But then sometimes those ideas can go down rabbit holes. Yeah. So I love the post-it idea. I also just like dump them on a Trello board. I don't have the blank space date with myself, like where I go back and look at them though. But at least it's like, it gets over that fear of I'm going to forget.
Mandy, that's brilliant. Yeah. So even simply putting the ideas out there, now you're in the shower and suddenly, you know, there's some blank space right there and it'll start to marinate.
I took a shower today and I just listened to a podcast. I know, not even my shower is a blank space. Yeah, I struggle with like, it really is like a practice to have to just like have quiet.
Absolutely.
You know,
and here's another thing you could do. You could start it as a micro habit. A micro habit is 2 things. One, it's micro. It's so ridiculously small that it would be absurd not to do it. And two, that you do it every single day. So let's say, for example, I don't make blank space time. I don't have space right now with 2 young kids and a full career. What if you took 10 seconds of blank space every day? 10 seconds is doable.
I'll take it right now.
Great. Yeah. So just set a timer for 10 seconds. And that's the way to build that muscle.
This is what I wanted to talk about. Passion and purpose. So I want to know, what do you have to say in the book about, you kind of get what you thought you always wanted, you get to this level of your career, you're doing what you thought it's your passion, and then you're like, I'm here. I don't know if I want to be here. I don't know if I want to be doing this.
Yes. This was a surprising finding for me, particularly with my clients who are north of 45. So somewhere between 45 and 60, they would come to me going, I'm made. I have the big title. I've got the house, the whatever, big empire, etc. And I'm not feeling fulfilled. I'm wondering, is there all there is? Is this all there is? It's not as cool as I thought it was going to be. They've lost track. They've lost the plot. They've lost track of what really connects them. So I came up with a tool called a joy line, which is simply a vertical line. And the vertical line is chronologically your life. On one side of the vertical line, the things, about 10 things that have given you tremendous joy. And on the other side of the line, about 10 things that have leached out joy from your life. And often simply doing that exercise and writing those things, the work takes care of itself, because people start to have light bulb moments of, oh, wow. But if not, look at the themes. What's common to the things that have given you joy? Is it because you had a sense of autonomy in those cases and you don't right now because your board of directors is breathing down your neck all the time? What else is common to the things that gave you joy and the things that took away joy from you? And which of those are you finding in your life right now? So you can redesign your life by looking back through the process of the joy line.
Is it often about like taking things out, you find, or is it people needing to add things back in?
Both. Okay. The first step is taking things out, just clearing the decks, because there's so much noise in most of our lives. And we haven't even realized what we've done. And we've packed up all this junk that is now gunking up our sense of joy, our sense of passion, our sense of purpose. So first it's cleaning house, because you cannot even see when it's so noisy and dirty. And then it's about, what are you going to add in that space?
I don't know. Can you see my house right now? Because it is kind of cluttered. It's kind of cluttered. Yeah. It was funny, but that's a good analogy, because my husband's always talking about how we need to get rid of things. We have too much stuff. And I was like, if we just focused on putting things where they belong, and we just like for the kitchen, I didn't wash a single dish. I just spent the day taking things out of the kitchen that didn't belong there and putting them where they go. And all of a sudden the kitchen's clean. That's all I needed to do. It was just stuff that's here that doesn't need to be here. That's really helpful. Okay. So everyone should read the book. It's called You're the Boss, Become the Manager You Want to Be and Others Need. I wish I had this book when I was a baby manager. Before I let you go, I want to know a little bit more about you and your journey toward executive coaching. Why did you make that leap?
When I was running engineering groups at Microsoft, Microsoft gave me an 8-week sabbatical. And different from how I usually run my life, which is go, 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 do, 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 I actually had plenty of blank space. I had about 5 weeks of doing nothing. And in that, I had a really clear realization that it was no longer a matter of if but when I would become a corporate vice president. Now, that had been my career ambition, especially as a brown woman in corporate America, and especially those days. But once I realized that I knew the formula, it became a really anticlimactic moment for me. Why should I spend the next 5 years of my life chasing something when I already know how to achieve it? And then I went, shoot, what do I do with my life? I'd gotten a lot of feedback that I was a good people manager. And so I thought, let me experiment with that. And I was fortunate enough that Microsoft allowed me to do that. It's the only company I've worked at, and it was really transformational for the manager who hired me to say, yep, I'll take that bet on you.
Oh, so that's how you shifted into the HR role.
That's how I shifted into the HR role. And that got me into executive coaching, understanding all of these people things, but also organizational systems. And, systems thinking is systems thinking. So whether you're talking about organizational systems or computer software operational systems, the same principles apply. So even though I didn't have formal training in the beginning, I was able to apply some of those principles and my street smarts from managing organizations and get launched into this career. And I did that for about 6 years before launching out on my own.
Mm. And what made you feel like you were ready to go solo?
I wasn't sure. Again, I loved working at Microsoft. I had a fantastic job. I had a blank check from the senior most people in the company to remain there. And I was 7 months pregnant with my second kid. My first kid was 2 years old. And I thought, I'm going to miss out on a lot of things. Now that they're older, I still feel like I missed out on a lot of things, but at least I did it on my terms.
Oh, that's really beautiful and very honest. You know, I think sometimes it's another kind of story that we're told as women is like when you have kids, you know, you have to prepare. People are going to think that you're going to quit your job or that you're going to want to take a step back and like that you're going to decrease your earnings and all that. And then when you're in it, it's like when you have kids, like, yeah, duh. Like,
yes,
wouldn't you want to? Like, that's
right.
kind of like you're doing it right.
Yes, exactly right.
It was very,
exactly right.
yeah. And it's very different when you're in that position. That's one of the reasons I started my business. I was like, well, this is great. It's stressful and, you know, but I can do drop off and pickups and still, you know, whatever, and play with the kids after school. And I love that idea that we can start talking about that as just kind of like a, well, yeah, it's just like, it conflicts with something in my brain that from the old days. That's like, wait, don't talk about quitting your job after you have a baby.
Right.
Like we're not supposed to, we're supposed to come back and be exactly the same, maybe better.
How we're programmed. Exactly how we're programmed. And you know, Mandy, I had the luxury of having a stay-at-home husband. I got to
get one of those. That sounds nice.
So I wasn't leaving because of logistical reasons. He's an excellent father. And it was more of that, shouldn't you want to do this? You're missing out on some of the things that are most important to you.
Yeah. It's that balance. It's like, of course I want to be here for the fun stuff, but like I still love my brain and I want to be able to use it, you know? So
Absolutely.
It's great. But then you can control the lever.
Yes. Hence your Trello board.
Yeah, I love my Trello board. Airtable's fine, but I don't know. I'm still like, I have a thing with Trello. Okay. Parting words for women of color who are wanting to become bosses in their own right. Any like final words, and then let everybody know how they can find you.
Final words would be, you are sufficient. You have it. Give yourself the luxury of stepping back, of having some quiet time, having that blank space, and you will notice that the answers are in there, just waiting to come out. You just haven't given them permission to come out yet. How people can find me? The best would be to go to my website, which is sabinanawaz.com. I'm sure it'll be in your show notes. And you'll find a link to ordering the book, but you'll also be able to download some bonuses that come with ordering the book, or sign up for my Substack, Pressure Free, which is again on my website, where you can get additional tips on how to, not pressure free. Did I say pressure free? Not pressure free, pressure proof. How
pressure proof, right? Don't forget
pressure.
Your own tagline. Okay.
I know, right?
That's
and
so
we're
funny.
All human.
Yeah, yeah. I said the same thing with like negotiating. I said, like, not to be fearless about negotiating, but fear proof. Like the fear is going to be there. Yes. You just have to cope with it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the definition of courage, isn't it? Courage is not when your heart is not pounding. It's when your heart is pounding and you're still going forward.
Oh, we didn't even get into negotiating. Maybe another interview, another time. I can't wait to share this book with my community, with BA Fam. Here it is again. You're the boss. Sabina Nawaz, thank you so much for joining me on Brown Ambition.
Thank you, Mandy.
Thank you.